So hello, everybody. I'm really excited to bring two people together today that I thought should be in conversation with each other. So my name is Kate Coleman. I am the co-director of the UNESCO Observatory of Arts Education at the University of Melbourne. I am a current World Councillor for the Southeast Asia and Pacific region for the International Society of Education through Art. And so with that great privilege, I get to do some beautiful boundary crossing work and work out who should be the right people to speak on these wonderful kinds of days. So this is a day that has, I guess, an important day to think about what it means to think about art education for peace and peace building. I begin by acknowledging the country that I meet you here from, the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. Today in Australia, we mark National Sorry Day this Thursday in International Arts Education Week, and that asks us to actually remember and acknowledge. I've used here a probably more gentle word than I would probably say usually, but mistreatment of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, our first peoples in Australia, who were forcibly removed from their families and communities, which we now come to know as the stolen generations. So why does this mean something in a week where we're thinking about peace and peace building? And what does it have to do with art education? Well, I have this beautiful, more than privileged role in teaching the future of art and design education at the Melbourne Graduate School of Education. And so I have all of these really wonderful people that come from the visual arts and from design practice to think about what it might mean to become a secondary teacher. And in that program, I work with these wonderful people to think about what it might mean to teach in a relational, radical art education space, where we can think more about what it means to be in the world than what it means to just be a person in the world. And that might be in the world is something really important to thinking about peace and peace building, and the kinds of things we teach, the kinds of artists we invite into our classrooms, the kinds of practices that we teach young people and ask young people to participate in. So when I got a chance to actually think about what this day might mean for me and mean for my community of teachers, I put out an Instagram message to Nina and Angela and said, how would it be to come and join me in a conversation to actually think about what UNESCO's mission is for us to think about peace? So UNESCO asked us to think about these 5 big ideas, to think about the dignity of human beings in thinking about peace, how we might be in the world and think about power structures and shared humanities for understanding and respect, how we work to ensure that we live in a space that doesn't enable intolerance. And in a sad week when we've seen teachers and young children lose their lives, I think that's a more important one to think on a day about arts education, about peace and peace building. And then what's our job to do to strengthen the bonds amongst people across cultural spaces and to ensure that we can connect in spaces to enable us to think differently? And then how do we tackle the big climate emergency that we sit in today? And what are those social and environmental and ethical challenges that, particularly in art education, we have something to say and to do? So UNESCO's conversation with us today is to think about what it means to think with UNESCO's mission. So UNESCO states that since wars begin in the minds of women and men, it is in the minds of women and men that the defences of peace must be constructed. These opening lines of UNESCO's constitution bear witness to our effort to understand and respond to the very origin of conflict. They are the backbone of all our action. UNESCO was created in the aftermath of 2 world wars, in response to one of the most radical attacks against the dignity of human beings, when violent racist and anti-Semitic doctrines were taught in schools, legitimized by pseudoscience and fueled by systemic propaganda, using the modern tools of culture, communication and information. So it's with this message in mind that I invited two practitioners who are doing the work at the coalface, doing the work in community to enable people to trouble and problematize and query the kinds of things that we need to be considering when we think about what it means to do peace and peace building in art education. So I open the floor to Nina and Angela. Thank you to both of you for being with us today.
Thank you, Catherine. Should I take from here with my presentation, Catherine?
That would be amazing. Over to you.
I'll share the share the screen.
Perfect.
Yep. So thank you so much for inviting me to be here. It really is such an important, urgent topic today to present and talk about. And I want to start with the summary or the premise, the message of my presentation. And it might be surprising what I will be saying now, because we are here to talk about peace building, but through the story of my practice and my life, I will share with you an overview that most of my work is about fear and rage, grief related to war and conflict. Through my own experience, lived experience, and through understanding and remembering and never forgetting these horrific events, that we can build peace. And this is what I pretty much dedicated my life to. Most of my work might not seem that it's necessary about peace building, but as you will see, it actually is through talking about these problematic events and historic and what's happening right now as well. Which brings me to a very important acknowledgement that I want to do now. And just like Catherine said, today happens to be National Sorry Day. And I would really like to acknowledge that I live on the unceded land of Bunurong and Wurundjeri and Bunurong people here in Australia, of Kulin Nation. And I want to say sorry and acknowledge all the tremendous pain, suffering and strengths of stolen generation survivors, and reflect on how we can all share in the healing and reconciliation process. Today actually also happens to be a National Day of Georgia, the Independence Day. And I'm born in Georgia and grew up in Georgia, a former Soviet Union, a place with big mountains, lots of churches and lots of monuments. So this is, for example, a sculpture of Mother Georgia, and in the main square also a monument to Lenin, which was made by Valentin Toporidze, a sculptor quite famous at the time, who I'll be talking about. Here he is in his studio, and he was a family friend for 3 generations and also a neighbor of ours, and so that's where the connection comes from. I grew up, sorry for the bad photo, but I grew up most days in his studio and garden, climbing Lenin's heads and playing with his sculptures. However, in 1989, when I was 13, Soviet Union came to an end, or was about to come to an end. Protests broke out and took place in the center, and I used to live right in the center on this street. And as we can see, these are also Toporidze's sculptures in the back, which is a parliament building. And we see here pictured the moments after the 9th of April in 1989, which is known as Tbilisi massacre or Tbilisi tragedy, where 21 people died and many were injured in these clashes against the Soviet army trying to stop the breaking away republics. Within a year, the Soviet Union was no more, and you can see the same sculptures falling down and being torn away. What followed was a civil war from 91 till 93, and it was pretty horrible and scary time, which I had to live through when I was 15. Was cold 100 times without food and gas, electricity and water, and a total collapse of education system. And here I am. I was 15 at this, as I said. I was growing up in a family of musicians, and I took my piano pretty seriously. I used to also love to paint and make plasticine, and at this really difficult time, I saw a refuge in music and in art. And here I am playing Prokofiev Concerto with Georgian State Orchestra, while literally outside the war is raging. Experience this sort of combination, experiencing this combination, I think has left indelible mark on me and become foundational learning for me for peace building. As I understand now and as I carry it through my practice, I learned then that doing something creative and bringing beauty to the world, no matter how difficult the circumstances were and how strange it was, it actually made a lot of sense. So moving fast forward, there's a little map I drew. Migrating then in 1992, I become a refugee in Russia, running away with my family in hopes of getting education and peace. I have some Russian blood in me as well. So my mom was offered a job. We flew out on a military plane, never to come back. And in 1996, we're lucky to migrate as a family to Australia. And I guess I found peace and great life in Australia. I'm really grateful to this place. I had a successful business for many years illustrating children's books, traveling the world, married, 2 children, and fast forward to 2017, when the bollards have appeared on the streets of Melbourne, and actually they really triggered me. And the really, from kind of being more of a full-time mom and illustrator, they really threw me into fine art with vigor. I saw that, obviously I had a personal trigger, but also I noticed that many people didn't pay much attention to the bollards, and it alerted me to sort of even decorating the bollards in nice ways. For me, that was kind of making peace with something that represented violence. And what I did instead, I put on my balaclava and at night went out pasting. That was the first work, pasting these rubbings from the gravestones, which turned these bollards into memorials for people who died. And then I realized that I needed to go further, and a huge body of work was born. I'll only take you through some of it. So this is Bollard City, which represents, I made in my front yard, as people thought I was going crazy, I think, because I made in my front yard about 40 of these quite big shapes from polystyrene. They each represent bollards from places where terrorist acts happen around the world. And so it's in a way kind of a anthology of these traumas, I guess, but which also translate into great visual language. And the bollards are quite funny in a way because they were made from polystyrene. I used these fish boxes, recycling them. And so they were dysfunctional, highly dysfunctional. And what I did, one could carry a bollard quite easily by themselves. So it's quite funny. So I did this performance with my friend carrying bollards for quite a bit around the city and putting it in the places where people at first thought it was real. Then we would pick it up and it was create a stir and kind of. And then I received a public art commission from the local council, which I presented. I guess I put bollard in the tree, and for the council who actually funded a lot of, they spent like nearly 300,000 putting bollards in front of the Luna Park and so on, which kind of they're still there. And I also made these sort of binoculars in a way, you know, the city viewer right on St Kilda Beach, and they just stuck there like a sore thumb. Really didn't belong, just like I think the bollards don't belong elsewhere as well. And sort of it was really playful way of commenting. And I collaborated with street performers who delivered performances, really beautiful sort of dancing. Yeah. Won't have time to play it, unfortunately. But it was about the dancer himself is from Serbia, and so he wanted to show a story of a person living in fear. And I guess this photograph, which I never exhibited, is also about kind of living with these bollards that I made in my house, made me think how the fear that we live with is within us. And I guess this is one of the images that symbolized for me. This takes me then to 2018, where I went back to Georgia and I found this archive of that monumental sculptor who's a big public art, almost doesn't exist anymore. But his archive was somewhere badly stored, unwanted. And I brought it out. It was part of Tbilisi Triennial, and I called it 100 Years After, 30 Years On, because it was 30 years since these monuments fell when I exhibited then, but also 100 years before the Tsar's monuments fell, taken down by communists at the same time. So it seemed like I left that little square in the end where I was gonna put a sculpture that represented that period, and then I didn't. It was just more in the writing and then a title. And it was quite brutal way, I guess, of exhibiting beautiful, they are beautiful, precious kind of archive of a sculptor, because we don't pile sculptures like that, yet it was a very compelling way of talking about what they are. They're like thrown away, sort of pile of rubbish maybe, you know, that's how they're treated, but they're also bodies. And also I made a barricade from them, because at the time I was quite aware that Stalinism was coming back in Soviet Union, in the ex-Soviet republics, but in Russia. And and for me, these molds and models represented the possibility of remaking of these big Soviet propaganda art again. And so I felt like the world was in danger, and so it still is in many countries. We have governments wanting to bring back nationalism and so on. This work then, I brought all the works back to Australia, and I exhibited in different shapes. Sort of every time I re-exhibited, it takes a different kind of recontextualized. This is in Adelaide, and I did quite a lot of work with these monuments. I'll just move on now to talk more about them. I started to look, I had an exhibition at Margaret Lawrence next to the Queen Victoria Garden, where we have a lot of colonial monuments. And so that was 2019, before the Black Lives Matter monuments we had in the news and falling down. So I created this sort of folding replicas of colonial monuments. It's a family, grandma, Queen Victoria, her son, and a grandson, Edward VII and George V. So they're sort of replicas of these monuments that fold. So I created again a performance, took it back from the gallery out back on the street, and walked. There was great clatter of this. The sound was deafening of the wheels when you walked. There is a performance I have on my website, recorded documentation, and it was sort of quite ceremonial. I think I wanted to talk about these projects that I did prior to my Call to Peace project, which brought me to this talk, because in a way they were all bringing me to this idea of making replicas or working with originals of replicas of something that exists in the world, either in public space or monuments in public space, and as a way of examining the psychology of that public kind of structures that we have, and then activating them in a gallery to talk, to look at them and see them in a different way. And then these performances or the workshops or the way they activated these monuments or these bollards, or again back on the streets, bringing it back to the people in a very often awkward and uncomfortable ways. And I think that led me to the work that I created now, titled Call to Peace. So already for a year, I've been sort of looking at this. The second image on the left is the little mold, little model that I have of this from Torporizov Archive, which is in my collection again. And it drew to my attention the title, Call to Peace. And then I realized that actual sculpture still exists in a really small town. You can see it stands on the roof. It's a little theater in a country town, sort of regional town. And that's the original close-up image of it. And he actually based it off the Nike Samafrakis sort of sculpture. I think he was very himself, influenced by a lot of the Greek classical sculpture, and as neoclassical art is generally. And so I never actually made clay sculptures, because in my work, I sort of, every time I reinvent, I want to make new artwork. I learn techniques that I need towards to make it happen. I don't have a set way of working with a particular sort of technology or technique that I'm master of. So in a way, I'm always learning something new. And I thought, well, the ghost of this Soviet monumental sculptor became my mentor in a way. And having possession of his sculptures, I thought, how can I do what he did? I wonder what it takes, what it would be like. And this Call to Peace, it looked like a woman like me. She was tall and strong, and I thought I'll make her my own version, but life size, of exactly my size, and I'll just see what happens. And so in November, I started making it. And originally, really, this idea of Call to Peace was about our very much sort of divided societies through what we observed, the climate wars, the COVID, the race, the monuments, every conversation, we're so extremely divided. And I guess I was thinking then, peace in that context, and that's often, I guess, what leads to war. I guess is this division we're a step away. Then there was a call for public art, and I submitted this, and by February I was invited to make public art with Call to Peace. the brief was they wanted to invigorate little streets, shopping strips around Melbourne, in my council, which is just outside the CBD in South Melbourne. And we chose a very unassuming street, not suited for big monuments or performances or anything, which I really quite like, that it's not some grand sort of place like the Soviet monuments would be on a big square, but more like unexpected encounter. I guess this woman, while I was talking at the beginning about the rage and anger and all that she has an angry face. The way I sculpted her, she has an angry face. And in my mind, she's a woman who came out of the battlefield and she's seen the war and the battle and she's calling for peace. And the story of Nike Samothrakis as well, that Greek sculpture is actually is another name for her, is victory, which always sort of assume a battle, I guess. And she used to stand on the ship, all this this windswept, because they stand on at the front of the ship, and the sort of the battle is symbolically against the ocean. I also like that she doesn't have any weapons in her hands. It's just her. She's probably a mother. And I didn't want to present her like a full-bodied Soviet monument suddenly standing in South Melbourne little street. I sort of created this minotaur of a figure, part the traditional sculpture that we come to recognize, and part community space, a table, a place of gathering, and part also, you can't see, but there's wheels there. It's a scaffolding, ready-made scaffolding on the wheels. And to talk about to continue talking about the monuments in public space, that problem, is it being put on? Are we constructing it? Are we taking it away? Are we renovating? And that conversation, and some people at the opening, they sort of asked, when are you going to unveil it? And so that was kind of a starting point of the conversation. That's it, that's the thing. And I designed it also as a sort of like a wishing tree, where people could put the ribbons with the wishes for peace, and as a place for gathering. And we had so this really, in a strange coincidence, was as I was, fabricating to install this sculpture, the war broke out, and I had a lot of people then, Boat World Music and musicians. When I put something about it on my social media, people reached out and said, we want to come and perform. They felt it was the right time to, coming out of COVID, a lot of these choirs, I had multiple choirs coming to the opening. We closed the road. It was really a big event. A lot of choirs haven't performed even for 2 years, haven't been together, and that became like a place of gathering, of being together and singing for peace. That was a purpose. So some of the images from the opening, and the sculpture started filling up with ribbons. So I left the ribbons and the chalks there. Ongoing, and I have now a running sort of scheduled every week, about Saturday or Sunday midday. It's next to the market as well. There is somebody signs up to do a performance. Sometimes it's a number of performances, and so it's been the most moving, incredible experience witnessing these performances, and just for me to be there, incredibly nurturing in these very terrible times that I have experienced personally and the world. So they'll just show you just a few of the people who came, singing, dancing. As a mother and daughter, was very moving, dancing there. And there was this whole orchestra from the primary school who took 2 trams to travel from Fitzroy to, that's the principal and the leader, Zoe Barry. She's an amazing award-winning teacher and musician and artist as well. And yeah, so they came to do a performance. Ursula came, she made from clay a big workshop, like half a day workshop. A lot of people came to make these clay hearts, and money went to the Ukraine. We had chanting, singing, sort of gatherings. I'll play you this tiny little piece.
If mothers all would say, I didn't raise my son to be a soldier. Second verse.
Yeah. So there was 3 choirs that came there: environmental choir, the workers' union choir, and one more. Actually, don't know. They gathered to sing on that day. Then I'd really like to play, I think nearly finishing my presentation, Angela Costi and Irina Vella and Moline Vella. They came to perform just recently, just such a moving poetry by Angela Costi, and I'd really like you to listen, just one. So.
Continue to be the scourge of human existence. So horrors continue endeavouring, aren't we? That's the main thing. So I just also want to say war and its associated horrors continue to be the scourge of human existence and enlightenment. We stand proudly alongside this woman who is made by another woman, who is made by another woman, and another, and another, and another, who have lived despite severe conflict barging their doors. So today I want to share with you my poems from an embroidery of old maps and new. These poems, like Nina Sanadze's art, are informed by memories, counter-memories, post-memories, oral stories, and vicarious trauma associated with war. My parents and both sets of grandparents left Cyprus to escape poverty, civil unrest, and imminent war. So I hope these poems have some resonance for you today. Arrival. You stand in front of glass. It opens without knocking. They have women unarmed, sitting at counters, smiling. Hello, how may I help you? They pay people to help you. There are words you must hold like blankets in snow. Human rights, discrimination. You repeat them as third language. They feel hot on your tongue. They make you remember a child with broken teeth. Remember a woman with torn womb. The man eating the dirt. Here, you can say them again and again to many strangers who will take your story like a startled baby. In fits and starts, you come to know words as soldiers standing at checkpoints. Allegation, evidence. Your story climbs their walls and waits for you outside their office, knowing you cannot open the hearts of words written as law.
We'll probably finish here. Yes, I wanted to finish with recent images that I found of Lydia Kiev Monument. which is being covered up by scaffolding like this to protect it from the bombs. And it was just really uncanny crossover with my monument. And sort of, I realized that the scaffolding has a different meaning in the time of war for something in the monument, where it's just gone way beyond what I have even ever imagined. And it happens, that's in peaceful time, that same monument looks like that. Like I was telling you, it's also a woman at the end of the boat. And next to it, there is this wishing tree, which is people, when they get married, they make a wish for the happy life. But obviously in our time, we make wish for peace. Yep. I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Nina.
Thank you.
I don't have any words. I think that's that was an amazing presentation of your work, and such an exciting space to be in the zeitgeist when the world connects to your practice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ah.
I have the sign here at the back, which I made for those 3 choirs. It was going to be a huge storm coming, and we thought we'll run and sing in a supermarket next door. We would not cancel because so many people coming. So we made a sign to hold that the singing is not busking, it's about peace. And to let, and my daughter made it actually. So there you go. It became, it never rained. We had a beautiful sunny day. So I kept the sign useful today, I think.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me, letting me share this. I'm just so moved with people who came forward and what they keep doing. Next week, we're having Tai Chi. There's all sorts of things planned for next couple of months, more performances. They're so moving. And I'm just really glad I can share with what's happening there. There is a Facebook page that people can see. I share videos and recordings, and also you can see what's coming up. You can come, if you're in Melbourne, come and experience it yourself. Or at least watch, you know, amazing reading like Angela Costi. I don't know, just so moving.
Beautiful, thank you. And good segue to Angela in Portugal.
Yes.
Angela and I met each other through the International Society of Education through Art many, many years ago. And as I said at the beginning, I really wanted Angela and Nina to meet each other and to think about what the opportunities might be for us to think about teaching for peace and art education and peace building together with the two of them in our minds. So, Angela, over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. First of all, I want to say thank you for the invitation to be here with you in the morning in Portugal and in afternoon with you. And sorry for my bad English, but I will try my best. And I want to share with you, I want to share my screen. Okay, so I'm a visual art teacher and artist also, and I work with community art because I believe that being together and working together is a way to peace and to peace building. And why I work with that, because I think when I have this sharing, like a picnic sharing, we can share lots of feelings and ways to make a better world. So I need to take this from here, sorry. So the peace education activities promote the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that will help people either to prevent the occurrence of conflict, resolve conflicts peaceful, or create social conditions conducive to peace. Core values of non-violence and social justice are central to peace education. Non-violence is manifested through values such as respect for human rights, freedom, and trust. Social justice is realized by principles of equality, responsibility, and solidarity. And we work in our community artworks with these kind of themes: non-violence, conflict resolution techniques, democracy, gender equality, human rights, environmental responsibility, history, communication skills, coexistences, international understanding, tolerance of diversity. And we work with democratic methods, participatory research, joining people with different skills, and arts-based methods. And one of the works I have today to show you, it's in progress, and the name is AMAS, Acting on the Margin Arts with Social Sculpture. And it is a project that we work with people in the margins. And we work with them, with these people, with this kind of communities, with performance, music, visual arts, photo voice, land art, textiles, and other forms of art that make sense to all the team. And I want to share with you a video. So I think I need to stop sharing this and sharing.
Abandonar a nossa arte, mas só por enquanto. E vamos tomando espaço, em direção para onde a gente jogou a peteca. Nosso corpo continua dançando, aquela sensação do abraço que temos na árvore. aqui esse shake.
Yeah, and I'm going to the presentation. And in this video, I want to show you how we work. We work with diversity, we work with different language, and learn with everyone and put everyone in connection with different skills. And we share with others, we make visible the work with the diversity, with exhibitions around the world and exhibitions in the local community. With this kind of exhibitions, everyone can stay together and being together and making connections and share the points of view and working together with all kinds of skills. Another work that I want to show you is the textile cartography. It's a project for lots of countries, and it's a project with the textile. To realize climate justice, men and women's voice must be heard. Textile cartography is a way to tell stories, express ideas, draw attention, talk about art and heart, maps invented with fabrics and threads. The creators of textile maps observed the places, inquired about their history, searched for signs, meanings, alternatives, and they represent stories using fabrics, threads, ropes, wool, etc., with saying and heaving techniques. This arts-based research project intends to study the impact of narratives about environment sustainability through collective textile art and design actions. The project was duration of 46 months at least, starting January of 21. The applied methodology is a quality research based on ethnography, participatory and arts methods. And we explore collaborative process through textile arts. And we have some local coordinators in the countries, and they promote an action with a group of people interested in collaborating in the creation of participatory blankets as an activist action for awareness of environment goals and climate justice, creating a narrative that expresses ideas and options about human action on planet Earth. And these are the squares. We have lots of squares because we have now an exhibition in Portugal, and we have squares from Valencia, Spain, from Namibia, from Brazil, from Mexico, from Egypt, from United States, from Australia, and we share all around the world these squares with the feelings about the social justice about what each group or each country want to say about the world. from South Africa, we have these squares, and they are made, women made these, women who work in the land, and they made these like a cartography of the land and what they feel about the land in South Africa from a woman point of view. We have this from Australia, and women talk about what they feel about the environment and what they saw. These are from Portugal, and we have lots of different views of point of views of the problems of the earth and what they want to say with crafts. From United States, from Steve Willis, we have this kind of squares. Steve have a very deep spiritual feelings about everything, and they send to us these squares with beautiful titles. It's like a prayers. And from Spain, we have the rhythms, and we have these QR codes with voices, the voices of Spanish women and men about the environment and what they want to the world. And this from Munich with college. From Egypt, they embroidered what the map from house to university. They are made, the students made this with the teacher of textile, and they print their everyday walking and embroidery things.
Por isso é que o Japamala tem 108 e são usados em vários sítios.
In Portugal, we made an exhibition in Viseu with all the squares.
Olha, tem que ir buscar a Alemanha.
Which was And it's in process, so everyone can come to exhibition and make a square, or put the square, and we have lots another exhibitions around the world, in the United States in September. In November we have in Egypt, and we send squares for the countries, and everyone can make exhibition and talk about the problems in each country with the art language in the textile. And I don't know, Katie, I can invite everyone to we have this mantra for peace. It's action, and when start the war in Ukraine, my head is like, wow, what I need to do. And of course, I have a baby now, and I think I need to embroidery. I have to make a mantra or something. So I make 108 textile piece because the mantra is like a ritual formula, and when I pronounce repeatedly, and we have this kind of state of relation and contemplation and meditation, and like a communication and communion with the cosmos, and with all the things, and with all the people in the world. So with these thoughts, and with the contemplation and the mantra and embroidery, I make this mantra. And it's a participatory action open to all the individuals and groups. We are with interest in peace and sustainability between March and June of this year. And the team is based on agenda of UNESCO, and intends to give voice to communities through textile narratives, such as embroidery, in a collective appeal against the armed conflicts that exist in various parts of the world. The coordinator launched the invitation with the piece, this piece that I show you, to the people, collectives and communities from different countries to join the global appeal, embroider the world peace in 10 centimeters squares of fabric in their mother tongues language. With each challenge, the artist invites other participants to experience the contemplative cadence of embroidery and the repetitions of words in numerical sequence was a symbolic process of political activism through craft. Because we believe in our group that silence is a way of activism also. So with silence, we can make this activism. So how to participate? Embroider a 10 for 10 centimeters square with the word peace in your native language. And you can share with us, send it by address, or you can post photos in social channels and share with us with the hashtags. So this is the invitation, and it is growing and growing, and we have lots of in the other language now. And thank you. Obrigada.